All right, welcome to this Bargue Drawing demo. I wanted to go over my materials real quick before I get started. I have three different grades of graphite pencils. The middle grade is an HB. This is equivalent to your number 2 writing pencil. I have a 2B, which is a softer lead, which I'll use for laying in darker shading or darker passages quickly. And I have an H lead, which is a harder lead, which will be useful for light midtones and very subtle detail work. Now, I also have a pencil holder. These are easy to find, widely available, but they're great for shorter pencils like this. Stick it in. Now you've extended the length of this pencil, so you don't have to reach for the new one quite yet. You can keep on using that pencil. Now, I also have a sandpaper block, which I've made with just a very basic piece of wood, glued moderate grit sandpaper to it, and I'll use this to sharpen my pencils. What I do is take an X-Acto knife, whittle this down first, and then use this long drawn out stroke across the sandpaper until, with some patience, you arrive at this nice long kind of tapered point. This is great for keeping your pencils very sharp because a sharp pencil is that's your weapon of choice. A dull pencil is hard and more difficult to control. You want to keep your pencils sharp. So I also have here the kneaded eraser. Kneaded eraser is definitely a tool that I love to use. It's very useful. You can shape it into different shapes. You can rip it apart. One of the great things about these is you can shape it into a nice curled little point, use that to lift off darker flecks of the paper to balance out your tone. They're easy to clean, they're self-clean. You just keep on rolling it together until you have a nice kind of clean surface, and you can keep on using it. The last tool I have is actually a knitting needle. Now, some people will use a length of string. I like to use a knitting needle. This you'll see me using during the demo to take measurements on a drawing and also to check angles. So you'll see me do a lot of that, and I'll talk more about it. All right, let's get started. Alrighty, so here you can see that I've finished the lay-in of the shadow shape. So I applied a light tone, one pass. I went over it with a second pass, angled in a slightly different direction. But I've kept this tone pretty light because I still wanted to be able to make any changes, any last-minute adjustments to this shadow shape in general before I commit to a really dark tone. Now, with this big shadow shape kind of better articulated, you see we have our negative space over here where the light shape is really clearly defined. So in the previous video, you saw me making some adjustments to the shadow shape edges, to the contour, to the base. I rounded out the heel a little bit. And these adjustments were made a lot easier because I had this large negative shape to use as a guideline against the shape of the shadow. So I didn't just have to rely on the shape of the shadow to see if I was in the ballpark. Now, the shadow looks kind of like a nebulous blob. It doesn't really have a particular shape. The negative space, though, kind of resembles it kind of resembles a dog in profile, and maybe that's just me, but this is kind of like his nose, and maybe he's got kind of a droopy chin, his eyelid here, and here's his left ear, and this is just kind of his body. Little tricks like that with both your negative shapes and your shadow shapes can really help you to see if a shape is on track, because you visually know what it looks like in your barg drawing. Oh, it looks kind of like a dog's face, or it looks a little bit like, this object or that object. And then you can look for that same illusion in your own drawing, and that can tell you if you're on the right track. Okay, so here we have it, the finished drawing. You've been able to watch this drawing start from a basic block end to a more refined block end. Then I laid in the shadows. Then I worked around the contour and the different shapes to bring out the curves and kind of bring out the nuances. Then I rendered the midtones, and then finally I polished the drawing to the finished version you see now. So this whole process can be time consuming. One thing you need to remember, this is your first bar drawing, is really to take your time between those steps. Remember, you're trying to produce a drawing that's as accurate, as close as you can get it to the original within reason. You don't want to rush your way through the drawing. If you find that it only takes you 2 or 3 hours to finish a barg drawing of this type of complexity, the basic starter type, you've probably gone too fast. you need to slow down, take your time, make each step between the block in, laying in your shadow, bringing out all the curves and the nuances. You need to make sure you take your time and then get it as accurate as you can at each phase. That's where the real value of this exercise is. You're training your eye, and you're also developing that discipline to remain in control of the process from start to finish. It's a big beginner mistake is just to rush in, like I said, get the details too fast or lose control, lose patience, and end up rushing the end of the drawing, and you end up with a drawing that's not going to be as close to the original as it should, and that's really the goal here. So I hope you've enjoyed this demo, and till next time.